If I needed to reduce visceral fat, or if I needed to reduce a pot belly as quickly as possible, this is what I'd do. I just get down to the brass tacks of it. The first thing that I would do is I would do high intensity interval training, but I wouldn't do just any high intensity interval training. I would focus on length of time intervals that would build my VO2 max. Why do I want to build my VO2 max? What does that have to do with my pot belly? What does that have to do with visceral fat? And why could it accelerate the loss of it? And there was a study that was published that found that the higher someone's VO2 max, the more fat that they would oxidize during exercise. The fat that you oxidize at a higher intensity because of adrenaline being elevated more does tend to be more in the way of visceral fat. Most of what you're going to burn is regular fat, but you're going to burn more of a percentage of visceral fat doing high intensity interval training with a higher VO2 max than you would otherwise. Because when you stress yourself, you end up creating a surge of adrenaline. And you have a lot of general corticoid receptors in your abdomen. Because we have more cortisol receptors in our abdominal region, it's easier to store fat there when we're stressed. But believe it or not, it might be easier to burn fat easier there when our workouts are more stressful. And that doesn't mean having your girlfriend yelling at you while you're on the treadmill. I mean stressful from the actual exercise. The way that you build your VO2 max via high intensity interval training is by doing 3 or 4 minute intervals. That is really good for building VO2 max because you're not just working that glycolytic pathway where you're just like using creatine phosphate and glycogen for those quick short sprints. You're really tapping into aerobic as well. So those good old Norwegian 4x4 training, like 3-4 minute style rounds until you get that VO2 max up. That kind of exercise alone is probably going to make a pretty darn big difference. Now this next one can be one of two things.